What up, this is Rama Screen covering movies, TV, and entertainment, and here's my review of The Call of the Wild. Hey, before you watch this review, please subscribe to my channel, press that like button, and ring that bell so you can get notified whenever I post new videos. And if you would like to help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. That's patreon.com/ramascreen. Let's rock this. Okay, so I've never read the classic book on which this movie is based, and I've never watched the previous adaptations either, one of which apparently starred the late Charlton Heston and the other starred the late Rutger Hauer. So I came into the screening pretty fresh here, not knowing what to expect. And guess what? I actually enjoyed The Call of the Wild as my first time encountering the story. It's a breathtaking and heartfelt friendship adventure film. It's a must-see for the whole family. And the movie also made me want to get a CG dog of my own as well now. Based on Jack London's classic novel and adapted by Michael Green and directed by Chris Sanders, The Call of the Wild brings to the screen the story of a big-hearted dog named Buck, whose blissful domestic life is turned upside down when he is suddenly uprooted from his California home and transplanted to the exotic wilds of the Alaskan Yukon during the gold rush of the 1890s. As the newest rookie on a mail delivery dog sled team and eventually its leader, Buck experiences the adventure of a lifetime and ultimately finds his true place in the world and becomes his own master. Starring Harrison Ford, Dan Stevens, Omar Sy, Karen Gillan, Bradley Whitford, and Colin Woodell. Just to give you context, the director of this film, Chris Sanders, had animation background. He previously co-directed Lilo and Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon, and The Croods. So The Call of the Wild is his first foray into live action, but it's actually more of a hybrid, a mix of live action and CG animation that utilizes today's visual effects technology to render the animals as fully photorealistic. So what you get are emotionally expressive characters, much like the ones you saw last year in the updated version of The Lion King, for example. The dog in this movie, a Saint Bernard Scotch Shepherd cross named Buck, is reportedly a digital scan of Chris Sanders' wife's dog. So that's a fun fact for you. What I'm getting at is that it makes sense to use this technology because you get more out of the dog's facial reactions, which now can be sort of digitally manipulated. And let's face it, CG dogs can do what actual dogs could not. If you've seen the previous movie adaptations, you probably wondered how on earth did they get away with shooting those entire films without getting accused of animal abuse or without getting sued by animal rights advocates. Well, in the case of this remake, you won't have that kind of potential problem because the whole thing essentially is no different from Bob Hoskins interacting with Roger Rabbit. So welcome to the future, guys. I kind of feel sorry though for actual working dogs in Hollywood because they've actually been replaced. This is the part where you can insert that hilarious tagline from South Park. They took our jobs, they took our jobs. In all seriousness though, I don't mind this at all. I mean, the technology has been so refined today that not once during the screening of this film did I ever see Buck as anything other than a dog. And not being familiar with the story entirely also helps me experience the thrills and the excitement with wide-eyed wonder. I naively thought that it was always gonna be about Harrison Ford and Buck from the get-go, but turns out you don't see that pair up until halfway through. And the real star of the movie is actually Buck. His struggle, his suffering, his persistence, his loyalty to his masters, and his empathy for his fellow dogs. The movie is sad at times, but it's also joyful at others, and it stirs up that desire to explore, even if you may not think you ever had it in you. The only criticism that I can think of is that Dan Stevens' performance as the stuck-up, hoity-toity villain is way too comical. But don't worry, you'll look past it. It won't ruin the fact that this is a wonderful, hopeful, feel-good movie.